Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everybody. Today we're interviewing Craig Brown, a full-time realtor and team leader of the Craig Brown Group of RE/MAX Realty Centre in Montgomery County, Maryland. Craig has received numerous awards as a result of his consistent and faithful service to his clients over the last 15 years. A member of the RE/MAX Hall of Fame, Executive Club, Platinum Club, RE/MAX 100% Club. Craig is steady influence throughout the entire real estate transaction. Together in his vast network of services and resources, Craig serves his client with the utmost integrity. Craig specializes in residential resale, new home construction, lots and land, short sale, foreclosure, and investment property. Craig is licensed in Maryland and Virginia. Finally, Craig, for his full-service group, ethics, values, expertise, and experience, Craig has consistently shown the ability to satisfy clients in the buying and selling of their homes. His loyal base of repeat customers is the reason Craig has been so successful over the last 15 years in this incredibly competitive sales environment. Welcome, Craig. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Before we jump in, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Sure. I've lived in this area all my life. I was born in Washington, D.C. I've spent most of my years in Maryland. I live in Montgomery County, just north of Washington, D.C. My business is focused on this region in Montgomery County primarily, and also Virginia, and then the counties of Frederick and Howard and Carroll counties, which border Montgomery County. I'm married for 23 years this Sunday, and I have 3 sons, 2 in college and 1 in high school, that keep me very busy. And if you want to know why I'm so consistent or determined to make it, I've got to pay for college, so that's a pretty good motivator. But yeah, I mean, I've served, I've having been here and having pretty deep roots here, I developed a fairly decent sphere of influence, and continued business, repeat business, and also new. And I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, I totally enjoy serving people. I have 2 agents on my team and in my group, and together our goal is to serve and to care for that person from the first contact all the way through the settlement.
Awesome. Now let's backtrack a little bit. I mean, how did you get into real estate in the first place? Was it something you always wanted to do, or you stumbled into it?
No, not really. I used to be in the radio business. I worked for one of the larger broadcast companies locally, or national company, but here locally in the D.C. market. And at the time, my wife and I, we owned a rental property. And she and I, kind of really enjoyed it. We liked every detail. We didn't mind being landlords. And then from there, she said she thought about getting her license, and which was great. And she went ahead and got her license first. And then I realized that there was a ceiling in my company, and I really, if I could move to another market if I wanted to advance and chase a title, and I didn't want to do that because the age of our children and being here locally. And so she got her license first, and then it was during the summer, and I said, I may be interested in getting mine as well. And so we both went and got our licenses. I remained in the radio business for a couple of years after that. But then I so enjoyed it. I knew it was really where I wanted to invest my time and my sales skills and people skills, that I started, I took it on full time, and we've been full time, for the last 15 years. And so that, really was, I've always been in sales. I've always been serving people, managing expectations, overcoming objections, and just serving people, whether it's in radio, and now in real estate for the last 15 years. And I thoroughly enjoy it. I like every day something new, and I greet each day as a gift and an opportunity to meet somebody new or learn something new or implement what I've learned over the years, and the goal of taking care of the customer first and foremost.
Yeah, that's having a positive attitude, right?
It's all about attitude. I mean, everything I've done in all my leadership development and every training and all that I've ever done, it's all about, approach, attitude, and truly caring about the person. And it's such a big purchase in real estate. It's such a balance of emotion and logic. And I have worked extremely hard to learn about the individual early on, develop rapport and trust. And I don't have a bunch of fancy sales skills. I don't use scripts. I don't, it's just not my thing. I'm totally relational. I get the job done. I do whatever we can to get them over the barriers that may be presented. I'm sensitive to the fact that, folks are dealing with a lot of emotion in purchase or sale, and I have to navigate that. There's a lot of roles I play in every transaction, and, I'm not driven. Yes, I like earning an income, and I do fairly well, but I'm not driven by the commission. I'm totally driven. Our total focus is on the customer and doing what is best for them. And, that's been a benchmark for us as a team, and me personally, but also as a team. And, it's proved well.
That's awesome. And now one question I like to ask successful entrepreneurs is, how do you deal with failure, or how do you deal with adversities? And could you talk about some of the major adversities you faced during your career, and maybe how you managed to keep going despite these obstacles?
Yeah. For one, my goal is to fail fast. Fail fast.
That's good.
I don't dwell on it. Pardon?
Ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dwell on it. I've learned. I've learned more. For instance, when the market turned back in 2007, 2008, I mean, we hit a huge pit, and it happened overnight, and it hit all of us, and we got hit hard. We were somewhat insulated in the DC market because of the government and what have you, and other industries, but we still got hit bad. And a lot of folks left the business. A lot of lenders were out of business. Some had to go out of business, actually, but it was very, very hard. But I was focused on not so much the depth of the market and how much we were losing. I was using that as a motivator to learn. I had to shift. I had to completely change the way I would do business, and it forced me to change, and it forced me to adapt, and it was really, really hard. But when I come across adversity or failure, or what I've learned, to be a people helper and to deal, and just myself, and deal with it. I'm not going to run from it. There's no way I'm going to get around it. I'm going to go hit it, face it head on, and I'm going to look for a solution. We're going to determine an action plan, how to get out of this, how to work through it. And as a result, I've become better, better at what I've done as a business person, husband, father, people helper. And it's, there's a saying that soldiers aren't groomed during their times of peace. They're groomed in times of war. And, I've learned much more from my failures and the challenges and mistakes than I ever will from all my successes.
Wow, that was awesome. Now, what's your vision about your business? What's your vision about where you'll be in the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been in the business a while, and this business, which is absolutely fantastic, the real estate business presents a ton of challenges and a ton of victories. And It's ever changing. It's ever changing. The shelf life is short. There's always something new. Now houses are, the same square footage and upgrades and amenities and locations and styles. That's great. But from an industry standpoint, social media has changed our industry totally. And all the different syndicated websites, all the different public websites and portals that people can use, the having to adapt to the immediacy expected by the buyer, the seller, text, phone calls, emails, direct message, all of this, all these wonderful resources has caused all of us to learn and to grow, to get better. I reached a place in my business where I was doing okay because of the kids being their age and what have you. And I was able to set boundaries and be able to allocate time for business and for other things we do with our family. But my kids are older now, and they're two are off in college, one's at home. So I have a little bit more time. So you asked about 5 years. I have a 10-year plan right now. And the goal is to double or triple my business over the next 3 to 5 years or sooner, and to bring on additional agents and bring on the right people to work with and to train, to mentor, and to work side by side with, and to grow the business, over this time by, utilizing different lead generation streams and what have you. And always learning, always growing about learning about the industry, etc. So, I'm much more assertive and much more, what's the word? Focused, more direct focus on growth, over this next, 3, 5, 10 years.
That's awesome. I mean, what I'm taking away from this is that you have a plan. You have something. You know where you're going, and you're going to apply a plan. I mean, that's what most people don't do. They just have a dream, but they don't have a plan. So,
well, it's funny. In sales years ago, I learned that an old sales trainer said, "If you don't have a plan, stay in the car." I've always learned that. It's like, if you don't have a plan, stay in the car.
That's good.
So, and it's so true. I mean, you have to have a plan for the day. You have to plan for the month or the quarter. You got to have yearly goals or 3, 7, 10-year goals. You have to have a plan for that transaction. You have to have a plan. It's all about planning and forecasting. Mm-hmm. And, and also utilizing all the different resources and that are out there for us, which are many, in business planning, forecasting, goal setting, and, year over year, month over month, and how many transactions is it going to take to make it? It can be overwhelming, but I have my Excel sheets. I've got my software. I'm not overwhelmed by it because I organize it, and, I want to spend, majority of my time is spent prospecting, probably 80% of my time, and then customer service and what have you. So, and I have a fairly decent system, but I can always improve.
Great. That was awesome. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions out there about working with a realtor. What do you think the biggest one is?
There are many. There aren't one or two. There are many. Let me talk about the buyer, first of all. The buyer, still to this day, you think with all the education and Zillows and Trulias and Realtor.coms and Remax.coms, et cetera, we make a mistake of thinking that they understand the process, and they don't. So many people think they do, but they don't. For instance, the buyer, even in this day and age, thinks that they have to pay the realtor, whereas the seller pays the commission, and it doesn't cost the buyer. I'm asked often, well, how much is this going to cost me? And, it's always educating. And even in our marketing, understand that the seller pays my commission. I'm here to serve you to the best of my ability. That's one misconception. And it's funny because, as I mentioned, all these different portals, Zillows and Trulias and all these wonderful websites, etc., they're really good. But, they're there for the realtor they're going to make money on the realtor, and they're going to be a public service, which is fine, and a portal for listings, et cetera, et cetera. But even so, a lot of people, think they know the business, and they are better educated than they used to be, the consumer, but there's a lot they don't know. And so that's just one simple barrier that we need to overcome, or stigma, to think that it costs money to hire a realtor. Well, it doesn't on the buyer end. On the selling end, it's tough out there. It's extremely difficult out there, especially, with the downturn, and then we're getting healthy again. We're very stable in this market here. We're probably around 2004, 2005 prices right now. So the seller thinks, of course, that their house is worth far more than their neighbors. And they have this, of course, they're emotionally attached to it, et cetera, which is understandable. That's part of my job, to be sensitive to that. But there's this misconception on their end that they can sell their house for $50,000 more than their neighbor because they have this and that. And then it's about going about education and telling them that I can't sell your house for any more than that house because the market won't support that. Everything we do is dictated by recent sales. So it's educating the buyer, educating the seller. Unfortunately, real estate, especially realtors, got a really bad name and a bad stigma when the market turned and everything went south. There were corrupt colleagues out there that were taking advantage of people. There were corrupt appraisers doing the same, and also corrupt lenders. As a result, the market and the part-timers, there were a ton of part-time agents. I have nothing against anyone that wants to do it part-time. I'll just tell you that flat out. But you can't dabble in this business. You just can't do it. And so when the market was rolling, we had the inventory of agents in our area and just nationwide took off. And a lot of people were not served well. And as a result, all of us veterans, got the runoff from that stigma, and we've always had to prove ourselves over and over and over again. I don't take that lightly. I want to be able to prove myself. I never walk in and think that I have it all down. I don't. And so there's a stigma and misconception that we're driven by the big lump sum payments at settlement, and that's true, maybe true for some, but not for all of us. It is a lucrative business if you do it and work it well, but I think the average income for a real estate agent nationwide is like $46,000, which is a lot of money to folks, and that's fine, but you can make much more. So there's a lot of different misconceptions, but I think coming on the heels of the market downturn, there was even far more scrutiny placed on real estate agents, transactions, and everybody involved. So we've had to overcome that. And I think I can't speak for anybody else but myself and how I do my business. And myself, my wife, my team, we've worked extremely hard at working by integrity.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That was a very thorough answer, and you covered a lot of grounds here. One thing you did also, you already gave us a bunch of advice, but to wrap up, could you give one piece of advice for a buyer and one piece of advice for a seller?
Absolutely. First of all, for the buyer, you need a seasoned, experienced agent to help you every step of the way. You have to be represented in that transaction. Oftentimes, and it's not happening so much more than it used to, oftentimes buyers will go directly to the listing agent. They'll want to make an offer unrepresented, and then they'll want the seller to reduce the commission side that would have been given to this buyer's agent had they had one. That's a total misconception these days. Does not happen, okay? Now, but the buyer You need to be represented by a veteran and someone that knows every single detail of the contract, who has your best interests at hand, who will take you through and help you with, like, for instance, myself and my team, we have a network of services, be it insurance, accounting, legal, lenders, contractors, for advice. You need to hear and have a team. It's got to be a team effort when you're going to search for the home, be qualified for the home, have to update the home, insure the home, etc. And then someone like myself that'll be there with you from the first day we meet through settlement, and we shake hands at the end. And our hope and prayer is that their experience was a good one. There are many peaks and valleys through the process, and it involves emotion and logic, and we have to be able to balance that. And that's what a good realtor will do for a buyer. For the seller, the same is true. There's an old adage that you want to interview 3 real estate agents or so before you choose a listing agent. What has changed in the old days? In the old days, it used to be that neighborhood, quote unquote, neighborhood representative. Well, I've never boxed myself in as a neighborhood representative. I'm licensed in the entire state of Maryland. I'm licensed in the entire state of Virginia. I can work anywhere. I can serve anywhere. I have at my fingertips information and every county, everything I need to serve that seller well. Now, I also know my limitations and I don't go beyond them. But here locally in this region, for the seller, yes, you should interview a few people. You have to be at a really good heart and comfort level with that listing agent, because you're going to be spending a great deal of time, same for the buyer, but the seller, you're going to be spending a great deal of time with them, months on hand, walking through this selling process. And it can be very, very grueling. A lot of peaks, a lot of valleys. So you need a good seasoned veteran, someone that is going to communicate with you as often as you want them to communicate with you. You want to have someone that's going to have your best interest at hand, that is going to get you the best terms and conditions and price that is available. And so the realtor is I don't see the realtor ever becoming obsolete. There are a lot of things that you can do online, which is fine, but there's nothing like that heart-to-heart, face-to-face, eye-to-eye relationship, helping a buyer or a seller throughout the entire transaction. And, our whole goal, my goal and my team is to we value people, we value integrity, we value service, and, we value excellence. And when we put that all together, we're going to help either buyer or seller through that process. And our goal is to help them be successful.
Wow, there was a lot of value in this. Thank you very much. On that note, is there how can our listeners learn even more or get in touch with you?
I have a couple different ways, or a number of ways people can get in touch with me. My website is searchformarylandrealestate.com. Searchformarylandrealestate.com. I also have a Facebook business page, Beautiful Homes of Montgomery County. Beautiful Homes of Montgomery County. That is my Facebook business page. Or my phone number is 301-807-5636. And my email is craigbrownrealtor@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much once again, Craig, for doing this for us. This was very, very interesting. Lots of gems in there, lots of value. So once again, a huge, huge thank you. And we wish you well in the future. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye, Craig.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.